Good evening, YouTube. Good evening to everyone. It is 9 o'clock here, Columbus, Ohio. And yeah, before I call it a night, I want to make this video. I want to talk about something really important. As the title says, why you can't learn multiple languages. I want to talk about this. It's very important if you plan on learning multiple languages for you to have your mind got to be right. And when I say your mind got to be right, you have to have a certain mentality when it comes to learning multiple languages. Now, I'm gonna give some examples. For most people, and I'm going to say like adults, it's very difficult for us to grasp certain concepts. Like when it comes to grammar, it's very difficult for us to avoid it because we've been through the education system, we've been learning languages in the university, wherever, and the way we were taught was through a grammar based curriculum. So, after 18, 20, or whatever, you want to start learning other language, you naturally gravitate towards a grammar book. You just naturally want to do that because that's how you learn a language when you were taking it in school. All of us were like that. All of us. I was like that. But the problem with that, if you can't let that go, if you can't empty your mind and start thinking in a different way, in a more natural approach, then what's going to happen is it's going to hold you back from learning multiple languages. How? That I just explained, and this is how you're going to be thinking. Okay, so let's just say, for example, I'm a traditional thinker, and I'm thinking that I have to take these different grammatical approaches to learn a language. In my mind, okay, let's say I'm in a process of learning a language. I say Chinese or whatever I'm learning in school, okay, and I'm in my fourth year, fifth year. It's going to take me about 5 or 6 years if I take the classes at the university to 5 6 years, then going abroad, working and all that. I do That's going to take about a good 6 years to complete. So if someone asks me, do you want to learn another language? Do you plan to learn a different language, or do you want to learn how many more languages you want to learn? And someone asking me that, the first thing going to come to my mind is, well, I spent almost 4 or 5 years learning X language, Chinese. I don't know if I want to spend another 5 or 6 years of my life learning a different language. That's just too much time. I can be using that time for something else. That's probably what someone, that's what they would think, because it's a lot of time. If you think about it, it's like just the thought of learning another language, spending another 5 or 6 years. It's just kind of like, it's demotivating thinking about it, unless you have like some sort of job opportunity. You know that you have an opportunity for that language or whatever, then you'd be willing to, spend that much time on that language. But most people thinking like that, they're not going to want to learn multiple languages. They're not going to want to learn because of that concept. Spending 5 or 6 years in a language. So just imagine 5 languages. I mean, that's like 30 years. So you telling me I have to spend at least 30 years to learn 5 languages? That's how I'm going to be thinking if I'm thinking like that. So until people drop that mentality, the mentality of having to gravitate towards a grammar book without taking a more natural approach, they're not going to be able to learn those multiple languages. They're not going to be able to do it. Maybe a couple phrases or whatever, but they're not going to really be able to learn many languages, and they will never be motivated to learn them because of the time, you know. So that's why most people will say that they just want to learn 2 or 3 languages. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to learn 2 or 3 languages only, that's your decision. You're entitled to the decision. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's fun when you start meeting all these different people. You say, oh man, I want to learn that, I want to learn that, I want to learn that. And the thought of, oh man, I gotta take this in school, that's holding you back. I mean, it's really a shame. It really is. So if you want to learn those multiple languages, you have to make sure your mind is right. Make sure your mind is empty, and make sure you're thinking in a different way. Grammar, I'm not saying it's bad. Grammar is it's a good thing. I think grammar is good at a certain point, but when you starting at the beginning, it's not a good idea to take that approach because it's going to take too much time and you can't possibly understand everything within like 3, 4 months or something. It takes a lot of time to grasp all that stuff. If you studying like that, you know, you have to learn, you know, you learn best by having this context and using it, just using the language, using all that stuff, combining without having to study the charts and whatever. If you can take that approach, it will be much more easy to learn a new language and you'll be on your way to learning multiple languages. You know, there's two things that you got to keep in mind when it comes to learning multiple language. The first thing is method. You know, I know I said in the past that no matter what you use, even if you don't have a method, you know, as long as you stay motivated, you can learn language. That's true, you can. But if you have an effective method, some method that can help you to, in a way, to learn a language swiftly, you know, and cut off some of that time, that would be great. So method, and then the goals, because the goals, those will be, that will be very important because you have to, some people want to be, okay, I just want to be basic level, basic conversation. And some people want to be native level, you see. So you have to look at that. If you want to be, you know, I'll just give you an example. If you want to be, just have regular basic conversational level. And what I mean by that, a basic, you know, A2 level, being able to answer questions, being able to, you know, introduce yourself, explain to people why you're doing this or what you plan to do with the language, all that stuff. If you want to just be at that level, it doesn't take no more than 3 months. You can spend 3 months. If you do that, and just, if you do the math, in 1 year, you can learn like 4 languages. 4, you know, using the same approach, you know, same approach and getting the same results. In 1 year, you can learn 4 languages at that level. Now, if you obviously want to be on a higher level, then it's going to take longer than 3 months. You're going to have to, you're going to have to spend more time, and you're going to have to shorten your list in that year. You can't do 4 languages in a year if you want to go to a higher level. You might have to break it down to 2, or just do 1 and focus on that for the whole year. It all depends on what your goals are. That's why I always say it all depends on people's goals. It all depends on your goals. It all depends on your goals, because if you want to be on a certain level, a certain level don't really require that much time. But if you want to be on a real high level, it requires a lot of time and a lot of focus. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to ramble a little bit about that. I think that's like some food for thought for people to think about. I had a session earlier with someone. I was talking to them about the you know, making progress in the language, and the grammar came up. And I was just telling this person that they didn't have to really focus on that at first. Don't worry about it now. Just get through what you're doing. And then when you start, you will feel it. You will be able to feel that, okay, I'm starting to see patterns. I'm starting to feel this, and I keep seeing this, keep seeing that. Then you can get a grammar book and try to understand it more and say, oh, okay, now it makes sense. You know, and that's like at least 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later, you know, depending on how much you're studying, of course. But yeah, that is it. That's just my philosophy. That's what I think. And that's why I'm able to make the decisions that I make, because I know I'm thinking a certain way and I have certain goals. So by me being able to have these two things, or follow these two things, I'm able to learn whatever I want to learn and how many ever I want to learn. You know, there's no limit when you think in a non-limited way, you know. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. That is it for this video. And thanks for viewing. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Good night.